Imagine fighting a war that has already ended. Imagine hiding in a dense jungle for nearly 30 years, still believing your country is at war. This is not a movie. This is the unbelievable true story of a man named Lieutenant Hiroo Onoda, the Japanese soldier who refused to surrender long after World War II had ended. A story of loyalty, survival, and the incredible strength and stubbornness of the human spirit. Part 1. Early Life. Hiroo Onoda was born on March 19, 1922, in Wakayama Prefecture, Japan. He was a young man of discipline, honor, and determination, raised in a society where loyalty to one's nation was everything. When Japan entered World War II, Onoda volunteered to join the Imperial Japanese Army. At just 20 years old, he began training as an intelligence officer, learning guerrilla warfare, sabotage, and survival skills behind enemy lines. He had no idea that these very skills would one day keep him alive for 3 long decades. Part 2. The Mission to Lubang Island. In December 1944, as the war neared its final days, Lieutenant Onoda received a critical mission. He was sent to Lubang Island, a small, lush island in the Philippines. His orders were strict: destroy the island's airstrip and pier to prevent Allied use, conduct guerrilla warfare, and above all, never surrender. Before he left, his superior officer told him, "You are absolutely forbidden to die by your own hand. It may take 3 years, it may take 5, but whatever happens, we will come back for you." Those words would echo in Onoda's mind for the rest of his life.
He arrived on the island with 3 other soldiers: Private First Class Yuichi Akatsu, Corporal Shoichi Shimada, and Private Kinshichi Kozuka. Together, they began a long, invisible war, a war that would outlast them all. Part 3. The war ends, but Onoda doesn't know. In August 1945, the world changed forever. The atomic bombs fell on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Japan surrendered. World War II was over. But deep in the Philippine jungle, Onoda and his men didn't believe it. When leaflets were dropped announcing Japan's surrender, they thought it was enemy propaganda, a psychological trick. Even when they found newspapers and letters from home, they called them fakes. To them, the war wasn't over. Their duty was not complete. For years, the group lived deep in the forest, surviving on bananas, coconuts, and stolen rice. They repaired their uniforms with bark and leaves. They built shelters out of bamboo. They cleaned their rifles every day, preparing for the enemy that, in their minds, could arrive at any moment. They were soldiers without a war. But to them, every rustle in the trees meant danger. Every voice in the distance, a possible trap. They sometimes attacked local villagers, believing they were enemy spies. Several Filipinos lost their lives. To the villagers, Onoda's group were ghosts from a war long finished. But Onoda didn't see it that way. In his world, the mission still continued. Over time, one by one, his companions were gone. In 1950, Akatsu surrendered to the Philippine Army. In 1954, Shimada was killed in a shootout. And in 1972, almost 30 years after the war, Kozuka was shot and killed by police while burning a rice silo. After that, Onoda was completely alone. Part 5. The World Moves On. By now, the world had moved on. Japan had rebuilt itself from a shattered nation to a peaceful, prosperous society. Children watched television, astronauts walked on the moon, but one man in the jungles of Lubang Island still believed the war was raging.
He was disciplined, cautious, and unbreakable. Many search parties tried to contact him, dropping letters, photos, even recordings from his family. But he dismissed them all. He thought, "My country would never surrender." To him, every message was an enemy trick. For 29 years, he lived this way, trapped in time, trapped in duty. Then, in 1974, a curious young man named Norio Suzuki decided to travel the world. He told his friends, half-jokingly, "I'm going to look for Lieutenant Onoda, a panda, and the abominable snowman, in that order." To everyone's shock, he actually found Onoda. Suzuki ventured into the jungle of Lubang Island and after just 4 days came face to face with the legendary soldier. He greeted him politely, offering him food and photos from Japan. But Onoda refused to believe that the war had ended. He said, "I will not surrender until my commanding officer orders me to." So Suzuki returned to Japan, determined to fulfill Onoda's request. He found Onoda's former commander, Major Yoshimi Taniguchi, who was now a retired bookseller. The old major agreed to travel to the Philippines and personally relieve his loyal soldier of duty. March 9, 1974. After 29 years in the jungle, Lieutenant Hiroo Onoda finally stepped out of the trees. He wore his old tattered uniform. His rifle was still in perfect condition. He carried hundreds of rounds of ammunition, his samurai sword, and a few hand grenades. He saluted, he bowed, and finally he surrendered. The world was stunned. Here stood a man who had fought an invisible war for nearly 3 decades out of pure loyalty. Though Onoda had taken the lives of several Filipinos, Philippine President Ferdinand Marcos granted him a full pardon, recognizing that he truly believed he was still a soldier at war. When Onoda returned to Japan, crowds cheered. He was hailed as a symbol of dedication and courage. But to many, he was also a tragic figure, a man who had lost nearly half his life to an illusion. Back in Japan, Onoda found it hard to adapt. He couldn't recognize his country anymore, a place filled with bright lights, advertisements, and Western culture. The Japan he remembered was gone. In 1975, he moved to Brazil, where he became a rancher and lived a quiet, peaceful life. Later, he returned to Japan and founded a youth training camp, teaching children the values of endurance, discipline, and respect for nature. In 2014, Hiroo Onoda passed away at the age of 91. Even in death, his story continues to echo, a story of a man who never gave up on his mission. Hiroo Onoda's life is more than just a war story. It's a powerful lesson about belief, duty, and the human mind. He showed the strength of conviction, but also the danger of never questioning it. His loyalty was absolute, but it came at a tremendous cost. Whether you see him as a hero or a symbol of blind faith, one thing is certain: the longest battles we fight are often the ones inside our own minds.
If you enjoyed this incredible true story, make sure to like this video, subscribe for more historical stories, and share it with someone who loves exploring the past. This was The Soldier Who Refused to Surrender, the incredible story of Lieutenant Hiroo Onoda. Thank you for watching.